Hi, I'm attorney Larissa Davis, and today I want to talk to you about forgiveness. No, not student loan forgiveness, but forgiveness from the U.S. government for unlawful presence in the United States. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the I-601A waiver. You can apply for basically forgiveness, asking the government for forgiveness for unlawful presence. So the application for provisional unlawful presence waiver on grounds of inadmissibility, meaning the person here is inadmissible because either they've entered without inspection or they've overstayed a visa and accrued what's called unlawful presence, meaning being in the United States unlawfully without legal status. There's certain criteria, requirements of a person that applies for this type of waiver. So if you've entered the United States without inspection, and then you're therefore inadmissible, and you've met these requirements, you can submit an application with certain evidence and other documents saying basically, look, I know I'm inadmissible, I'm not allowed to be here. Will the government use its discretionary power to allow me to be here because of this, this, and this? And that's what I want to get into today. So the waiver of certain grounds of inadmissibility allows certain immigrants that are already present in the United States and are pursuing consular immigrant processing, visa processing, to apply for this waiver when they can show that the refusal of admitting them would result in what's called extreme hardship to their U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident spouse or parent of the applicant. So this is someone who's married to a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident, or they have a parent in the United States that's a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident. Okay, so to be eligible under this regulation, and I'm just going through the steps here of the actual Code of Federal Regulations that are governing this type of application. And you have to be present in the United States at the time of filing for this waiver. You've also got to undergo what's called biometrics. So that's where you go do your fingerprints. They're going to do a background check on you. And basically you have to show that if you were to depart the country to go do consular processing abroad and try to get a visa overseas at the embassy, that you would be inadmissible to re-enter the United States. And so you also have to show that you are a qualifying immediate relative. And then the Immigration and Nationality Act, the INA, has definitions of what that is. But basically, you're a qualifying relative if you are the spouse or child of a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident, as I said. Okay, and then you have a case pending with the Department of State based on that approved immediate relative petition. So they've petitioned for you. So the I-130 petition for an alien relative is what that's talking about, and paid the immigrant visa processing fee. So that's all taken care of. So if you are at that point, this is a waiver designed to protect those individuals who, if they were to leave the United States, could not come back in because they are inadmissible. So this last part is so important to this waiver, and that is showing that it would be an extreme hardship to the U.S. citizen spouse or parent. So the United States is more concerned here with the U.S. citizen or the green card holder, the lawful permanent resident. So if that's, let's say, your husband or your wife or your parent, that's who the U.S. official is going to be primarily concerned with, because you have to show it's a hardship for them if you were to leave. So an example of this could be, and I've done some of these where it's been women as well, but I'll just use this example. A man who's providing for his family. The mother would be a single mom raising children on her own, and there's also health conditions and other issues at play. That's an example of where that individual, the man, would be applying for a waiver of his unlawful presence, okay? Now, extreme hardship, that's the tricky part of this, because it's not actually defined except in certain cases, and so it's more of like a guidance to the U.S. officials that ultimately have the discretion to decide whether to approve or deny this kind of waiver. Some examples of the factors that they look at, there's quite a lot, so I'm going to go through those for you as well. So the U.S. citizen, spouse, or parent has to be present in the United States. The other thing is qualifying family ties outside of the U.S. is a factor that they look at of that qualifying relative. Conditions in the country or countries to which the qualifying relative would relocate, and the extent of the qualifying relative's ties to such countries. So if you come from a country where there's a lot of violence towards, maybe you're indigenous, or but it's too late for you to apply for asylum, or there's just other issues in your country that can help support why this should be seen as an extreme hardship, then that's part of the evidence that would be helpful to include in the application for the waiver. Okay, another example of a factor they consider is the financial impact of departure from this country, significant conditions of health, okay, especially when it's tied to unavailability of suitable medical care, and where they would have to relocate. So there's a whole host of factors that go into evaluating these kinds of applications, and it's really important to get an experienced attorney involved, because they're going to include legal arguments and provide a pretty lengthy, what's called a brief to the official, with organized evidence and all kinds of documentation and support for why their client should be granted a waiver. So if you are in this position, or you know someone who's in this position, and you think that they may be eligible for the waiver, you can give me a call at 601-724-9255. This could be a form of forgiveness that they're eligible for, and they could potentially be granted for, so they can move on in the processing of their visa and get the green card. So give me a call, or you can message me. I'll put my email in the description box below, and I will answer questions as well. I've been getting messages with questions, so if you have an idea for a topic that you want me to talk about or clarify, I would be happy to consider it and possibly do a video. All right, have a good day.